So the overarching goal really with clipping groups is that you can go further than simply clipping an image under text, or that you can, go further than clipping simple shapes inside of other shapes, but be able to, create more illustrative, more complex clipping um, groups and use multiple clipping groups within a single illustration or representation of something. So these can get much more complicated than what we have looked at so far. And so to begin to understand what this can look like, how imagery can be constructed with a series of masks, I have an example here of one that is, constructed in a very organized way. And so looking at how things are put together, I think will provide some insight into, how to go about designing something with some complexity. So if we start by looking at this in just outline view, you're going to see there's all kinds of paths and, shapes that extend out beyond the boundaries of this face and neck and hair. And so everywhere you see paths that are extending out, there's clipping happening. And there's multiple clips happening. So I just want to spend a moment and start to sort of look through these. And you'll see, okay, here is a clip group just for the neck. Inside of that, there's a big rectangle. Now I can drag that outside of the clipping group so we can see that's what's, coloring the neck. I don't need to color the neck carefully. I can just create the shape of the neck, use it as a path, and then inside of it have other things. So the shadow underneath the neck is just a shape that looks like this. Doesn't have to be precise at all, at least on, any edges that are going to be hidden. Along the bottom here, you'd want to have a nice clean line, right? But the rest of it, it really doesn't matter. So looking through some more of these, if we look at the clipping path for the face, there's going to be, a couple of things that maybe extend out past it, as well as a big shape for the color of it. And in some cases, there are shapes that are just, they're not being cropped off, they're not being hidden at all. They're just sitting inside of the group, like other objects, but they're not being hidden on one edge. That's the difference between this part and this part. That is being clipped against one side of the form. The lips has its own clipping path, and there is a duplicate underneath it to provide the base color for the lips. And then on top of that base color, there's a little shape there that's not clipped, and then there's a bigger upper lip shape that is being clipped off along the edge. So oftentimes you have a duplicate. This right here, this shape, like I said, it's the exact same shape as the clipping path. And this one has a fill on it. The clipping path is just going to echo that shape. And then inside of it, you can start to put other components, right? Then when I have the clipping path turned on, it will contain those shapes in an ordered way. Another one that we could look at, the hair has some complexity to it. So you'll see here there's a clip group for hair bun, for hair left, for hair right. And within those groups, we have this irregular shape. If I click on it, you can see it's just loosely drawn out with a pen tool or something, not even close to being the right size. Doesn't matter because the path of the bun itself is designated. And then there's some other shapes inside of it, some of which these are actually just paths that are it looks like this one's an expanded path or maybe a shape, but some of these are just tapering lines. And those are all being clipped. So hopefully, seeing this is helpful. And the other thing, for those of you who are, using this interactive Illustrator file that I'm using for the basis of this series, it's a great idea to get into this and start to play with it. You know, like I did before, what happens if you start to pull things out of the clip group? What happens if you go into the clip group, rearrange things, recolor things, you know, add other elements, put a necklace inside of here, you know, like by making some little circular shapes or whatever. Go in and select any elements and, for example, go into the transform window, or sorry, I meant to say transparency window, and play around with opacity and play around with different blend modes and just see, like, understand that these are just stacks of objects just like anything else, and they continue to be just groups that can be manipulated. The only difference is they have containers that delineate which parts of the group you can see versus not see outside of that clipping path.